This is The Space Shot, episode 183 for November 13th, 2017. Mariner 9 enters Mars orbit. Hey everyone, welcome to The Space Shot, your daily space history, pop culture, and news fix. I'm John Molnix. On November 13th, 1971, Mariner 9 entered orbit around Mars, the first spacecraft to achieve orbit around another planet. Mariner 9 was supposed to have a sister mission, Mariner 8, but that mission ended in a launch failure. Thankfully, Mariner 9 was successfully launched on May 30th, 1971. After a short trip to Mars, the spacecraft arrived in orbit right at the time a massive Martian dust storm had obscured most of the surface. After the Martian dust storm cleared, Mariner 9 got to work. The computer systems on board the spacecraft are incredibly primitive by today's standards. The onboard tape memory held 180 million bits of information, which in a little bit better known storage size is 22.5 megabytes. Mariner 9 would have only been able to store about 3 episodes of this podcast and barely 1 episode of the Cosmosphere podcast, just to give you an example. Even the smallest memory cards sold at places like Walgreens hold 4+ gigabytes, and devices like iPhones now ship with as much as 256 gigabytes of storage. It's pretty remarkable how far technology has progressed in the past half century. Speaking of how far we've come the past few decades, there are currently 4 NASA-involved missions at Mars. NASA's participating in the ESA and Italian Space Agency-led Mars Express mission, and also operating the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, Mars Odyssey, and MAVEN, or the Mars Atmosphere and Volatile Evolution mission. India is operating the Mars Orbiter mission, affectionately nicknamed MOM. Plus, there's currently rovers exploring the Red Planet as well. There's quite a bit of activity there. Over its roughly year-long operational life, Mariner 9 returned over 7,000 images and covered approximately 85% of the Martian surface. The amount of data transmitted over its mission was only 6.75 gigabytes, an impressive number considering the onboard memory of the spacecraft was only 22.5 megabytes. You'll probably hear sometime in the next 3 to 4 years about Mariner 9 as that spacecraft begins its final descent into the Martian atmosphere. I do have 2 launch alerts for today. SpaceX test-fired a Falcon 9 for the Zuma mission, which should be launching on the 15th. There's no information on this payload since it's a classified mission that SpaceX has been contracted to launch. Tomorrow, the JPSS-1 satellite is due to launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base. It was delayed from November 10th due to a faulty battery in the rocket. Even though I didn't get to see this launch, it was still a great experience to head out to California. Since you're here, why don't you let me know what you think of the podcast by leaving a review in iTunes. It takes just a minute to do that, and it makes a huge difference because it helps even more people find the show. As always, the show notes have more information on today's episode. You can hit me up on Instagram and Twitter. Find me at John Molnix. I'm always up to chat. You can also connect with me on Facebook. Just search The Space Shot or click the link in the show notes. Tomorrow, Apollo 12. I'm John Molnix, and I'll catch you on the flip side.